Hi everyone, thanks for listening into this video. So my name is Kate Glastonbury and I'm the New South Wales Grains Biosecurity Officer with the Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development. So we're just going to go through how to report suspect rice blast. So we're going to go through the symptoms you're likely to see, a bit of info about it, and then we'll go on to biosecurity and how to report it. And before we get started, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which I'm recording this today, and I'm coming from Wiradjuri country, and I would also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. So, a bit of background information about rice blast. You should also have a guide with this information as well for your reference. So it's considered the most important disease of rice worldwide and is present in the northern regions of Australia and also in northern New South Wales, as it was found in Lismore, near Lismore in February 2024. In 2011, rice blast was found on a rice crop in northern Western Australia and has also been found in the Northern Territory and Queensland on both cultivated and wild rice. Rice blast is a fungal disease that's caused by Pericularia oryzae, also called Magnaporthe oryzae, and the rice blast pathogen has never been detected in the New South Wales rice biosecurity zone. So this disease is a significant threat to the New South Wales biosecurity zone that we've got. So on the next slide, you can see here that we've got the map of the current biosecurity zone for rice in New South Wales. So everything that's in yellow there is what's part of the zone. You can see the rivers there. On the right-hand side of the slide, you can see the purple map of New South Wales, and that shows you where the zone is in relation to the rest of the state. Now, there are restrictions in place within the rice biosecurity zone. So you can't move rice plants into the zone. You can't move any equipment used in rice production elsewhere in Australia into the zone. And you can't move any coverings or containers that have been in contact with rice plants or rice production into that zone as well. The hosts, obviously rice is the main host of rice blast, but the fungus can live on many grass and cereal species, including native rice. And there were historical detections of the rice blast fungus on grassy species in New South Wales prior to the detection in rice in early 2024. So the disease cycle, the pathogen overwinters as fungal strands or spores on diseased rice stubble, on infected seed, or on living plants, such as grass weeds that grow over winter. Infection in the new season may originate from the fungus overwintering on rice straw, or may come from diseased grassweed species within or around the crop. Rice blast spores are transported by wind and water, often over long distances, and can infect rice plants after landing on them. And it can also be potentially spread via vehicle and people movement. Many infection cycles might occur within a cropping season if the weather conditions are favourable. Warm temperatures around 22 degrees Celsius and high humidity, more than 90% relative humidity at night, tend to favour infection. Now we'll go over some various symptoms that you're likely to see. So rice blast spores can infect plants at all the growth stages, from seedlings through to maturity, and the symptoms develop on all above ground parts of the plant. Lesions or spots are the most common symptom you're going to see, and they're usually 1 to 1.5 centimetres long and 0.3 to 0.5 centimetres wide. Crops under stress may exacerbate symptom development, leading to rapid crop decline, especially in susceptible varieties. So leaf lesions are the primary symptom, so they're generally the first symptom you're going to see of rice blast. The others tend to be more secondary symptoms, so keep an eye out for the leaf lesions. So they start as small white, grey or blue tinged spots. Under moist conditions, the lesions enlarge quickly to either oval or diamond shaped spots, or to linear lesions with pointed ends, grey or white centres and narrow brown borders, as you can see there in figure 1. Severe infections may lead to death of leaves or the whole plant, and leaf blast infections provide an inoculum for panicles to become infected. So the collar rot, if a rice blast lesion is located at the junction of the leaf blade and leaf sheath, the entire leaf can be killed. The leaf collar lesion discolors to brown and the leaf blade dies, as you can see in figure 2. Infected nodes appear black-brown and dry, as you can see in figure 3. An infection at the node often results in the stem breaking. So neck rot may result in the death of an entire panicle, as you can see in figure 4. Symptoms appear at the base of the panicle, starting at the node. The tissue turns brown and shrivels, causing the stem to snap and lodge. Panicles which do not break or fall off as a result of neck rot may turn white to grey. Partially infected panicles may show grey-brown lesions among the panicle branches and on the stems of florets, and florets which do not fill will turn grey, as you can see there in figure 5. So now we will go on to some tips and tricks for hygiene for the inspections that you'll be doing. So the main message here is to come clean and go clean. So always carry a change of clothing and boots with you, just in case you do find something suspect. It's always best to not risk spreading anything between paddocks or between properties. A squirt bottle with methylated spirits can be handy to decontaminate things such as boots and any things you might be using to collect the samples. Make sure you follow the grove's biosecurity requirements on farm. I'd always recommend contacting them prior to going on to see if there's anything that they want you to follow biosecurity wise. Vehicles should stick to recognised farm tracks or formed up farm roads, and vehicles should not enter the rice crops. If you do find something suspect, after you've handled the samples, change your clothing before you get back in the vehicle. Try not to contaminate the interior of the car, and definitely do not visit any other rice crops until you've changed your clothes and footwear. Just remember that if it can move at all, it can carry diseases, pests and weeds. So for this reason, people, vehicles and equipment do pose quite a high biosecurity risk and should therefore be managed accordingly. Okay, so moving on to tips and hygiene protocols for the inspections. So we're currently encouraging the agronomists to report rice blast symptoms through this particular process that we'll go through. So when you're doing inspections of rice crops, look for unusual symptoms in the crop, especially following times of high humidity and wet canopy. So inspections will generally be from February onwards, and we'll go through in a little bit what to do if you do find any symptoms. And ensure you have the equipment necessary to take samples with you in case you do need to take a sample. If nothing suspect or unusual was found from the inspection, prior to leaving the site, ensure you do a clean down of yourself and any equipment used. If you suspect you have found a rice blast, please take multiple photos, both close up and far away. Try and get them as best quality as you can, ideally, and ensure you take samples at the time. Mark and note the location for your reference and leave the paddock by the most direct route. So don't keep inspecting that paddock. If you find something suspect, take photos, take your sample and leave the paddock. If a rice crop you inspect has suspect symptoms, do not enter any other rice crops without changing your clothes and your boots, and make sure they are decontaminated before you use them again. And also spray your hands with methylated spirits or use hand sanitizer after packing the samples. Okay, so what we've got here is a flowchart of what is the process that's roughly going to be happening. It's more for your reference. Don't worry too much about the details of it. This is also in your guide. But if you start from the top left, we're getting agronomists and advisors to check the rice crops. If you don't find anything unusual, that's fine, you're done. You don't need to report that to us. If you do find something suspect, take your photos and your samples at the time and record any details. The next step, which we will go through, is to complete your online form to report it to us. These will come to us and we will then send them on to Ben to look at the images. If he can determine that it's not rice blast from the photos, we will let you know. If he suspects it could be rice blast, we will then ask you to send in the sample, and that'll then get sent to our lab and we will then let you know of the outcome of that. Okay, so steps to take if you do find any unusual symptoms. So the first thing is to take multiple photos of the suspicious symptoms. So take close-up, medium distance, and sort of some further away photos. But the main thing is we need good quality photos, so try and avoid zooming if possible. Try and get as close as you can to any symptoms. And please ensure that you collect the samples of the suspect plants at the time. We don't want to be coming back in later to collect samples if it is suspect, because we can potentially spread spores. So make sure you take the samples at the same time that you take the photos, and then leave the paddock by the most direct route. You will then be reporting it to our online form, which we'll go through. And so once the photos are sent to us, they will be triaged by us. We will let you know if we need a sample. So please do not send samples to us unless we specifically ask you to. And while the photos are being triaged and after you collect the sample, please make sure you press the leaves flat between either paper, cardboard, or paper towel, because otherwise the leaves will start rolling up and then we can't unroll them to look at any symptoms if we need to. And please ensure that you follow the biosecurity hygiene steps before getting back in your vehicle or leaving the farm. In terms of sample handling, again, as mentioned, take paper bags or supplies with you in case you do need to collect samples. Your guide will tell you a bit more about sample collection and submission requirements, but we will go through a little bit of that as well, and clean your hands and your equipment when you leave. So now this is what the online form will look like when you go to do a report. So you can see the list there, my report is about. There's multiple different options. Make sure you click on the plant, disease, or pest option. If you click on anything else, it will go to another group, go to someone else, and it'll get lost in the void. So please make sure that you click on the plant, disease, or pest option. That will then take you to this, which will prompt you to put in the date that you observed it, the name of the plant or the product the pest or disease is on. Just write suspect rice blast, and then describe the pest or disease or the damage. So just make a note of what sort of symptoms you're seeing. And now for attaching photos, if you press the plus, you'll be prompted to add your photos in. I'm not sure what the upper limit is of photos you can submit. Put in as many as you would like, because all photos help us to ID them. But in case there is a limit, please put any close-up good quality images on there first, so they can guarantee upload. Then it'll prompt you to fill in information about the location. So you can either manually enter an address, or you can drop a pin on the map to where you are. So either of those will work. And then there's a box at the bottom for other information about the location of the issue you're reporting. So you don't have to fill this out, but again, any information is helpful. If there's other rice crops on the property, if there's adjacent rice crops that it's someone else's property, any other information is helpful for us. Now, with your contact details, please, please, please do not click making an anonymous report. If you do, that orange banner will come up. We don't want to see that. So please make sure you click I'm providing my details so I can be contacted. That will then lead you to this page, which prompts you to fill in your details. So your name, where are you from, just put other and put agronomist/consultant. Put in your email and your phone number. And in terms of how you found out about the form, you don't have to fill that out if you don't want to. So in terms of what samples to collect, you don't need the whole plant, and also please do not send in dead plants to us. So collect part of the plant with a range of symptoms, but really the main thing we need is leaf tissue showing the lesions. Preferably collect the entire leaf if you can. Please don't package plant material in plastic bags, particularly over the summer. So ensure that the leaves are not going into a Ziploc bag or anything like that, and they're not having direct contact with plastic. And keep the samples in a cool place, but please do not submit them unless we ask to. And then remember to clean your tools after you've taken your samples. So in terms of packing your samples, collect 20 to 30 leaves, or really as many leaves as there are that are symptomatic, with plenty of the spots, but please make sure they're free of mud or slime. Squash the leaves flat and dry them between any sort of paper available, paper towel, normal paper or cardboard. Ideally do this as soon as possible because they will start to roll quite quickly. Let the leaves dry for at least a day at less than 40 degrees, and then package the paper containing the leaves into a bigger paper envelope. So don't put them directly into plastic. And please put some sort of sample ID on that paper envelope. So a name, a date, an address, just something so in case it gets separated from the paperwork, we still have some identifying features on it. Again, keep the envelope in a cool place until you're ready to send it. Again, only send if we ask you to send it in, and we will probably ask you to send it in at the beginning of the week. So in terms of completing the submission form, please fill out the form with as much detail as you possibly can. Again, anything helps us. So place the completed submission form into its own Ziploc bag, so that way it doesn't come in direct contact with the paper envelope. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have your bag with your paper envelope. So the paper envelope will be in a Ziploc bag, your paperwork will be in a Ziploc bag, and then all of that can go into another Ziploc bag. So essentially just making sure that it's all bagged and the paperwork is not in direct contact with the paper envelope. And then follow the instructions in your guide on how to send the samples. Bear in mind that there are two ways you can send them. You can either send them via courier or you can send them via regular post. If you do send them via courier, you can contact our lab directly because we have an agreement with a courier and we can sort that out for you. And this is an example of what the sample submission form looks like. There will be a couple of things pre-filled on there, hopefully. But again, fill out that with as much possible information as you can. Thank you very much. If you do have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Mark should have my contact details if you need them. Thanks very much.